Welcome to Good for Bitcoin, a weekly show recorded live every Friday where we recap the top events of the week and talk about everything that is good for Bitcoin. If it's built on Bitcoin, then it's good for Bitcoin. Let's get started.
Content shared on this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It does not constitute financial, investment, or legal advice. The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guests and do not reflect the official policy or position of any other agency, organization, or company. We encourage you to conduct your own research and consult with a qualified professional before making any financial decisions.
And good afternoon, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to Good for Bitcoin. My name is Brandon, social media manager here for Trust Machines and Leather. We also have Longstreet here, who I believe is behind the Leather account right now. Longstreet, happy Friday, sir.
Happy Friday, Brandon. How has it been?
I got to be honest, it's been a busy week. It's been a very busy day. I've been in back-to-back meetings all day today, and I feel like I I have one more Twitter space after this that I will also be attending, and after that, I'm ready to rest my voice for several hours at least. I need some tea or something. I need to, it's been a busy day.
Well, that's a good, it's kind of par for the course in this industry, in this crypto corner of the world. I mean, it rarely does it slow down, but yeah, you gotta be ready to pace yourself, find that balance, work-life balance, and yeah, have that lemon ginger tea ready to go to keep those pipes nice and clear.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that when when we get wrapped up here. But how was your week? You've been traveling quite a bit. I think I saw that you were just in Washington. Yes.
So we started our little 3-week trip out of France to the States. We started in Venice Beach. We did a little bit of time in Big Bear, went up to Three Rivers in Central California to see some family, and now we're up in Seattle to visit family and then do a little bit of camping. So it's been like mostly, but also seeing family. But like this week, we're gonna do some actual like camping. We're gonna take a camper van out. So in fact, this week will be the first time that we take Leather Lounge off. So 1 week off for Leather Lounge, just because I'm not sure like what the Wi-Fi situation. So we'll be having. I'll have like some nice time away from the keyboard for the next few days, and then back next Friday for the Good for Bitcoin, and then the day after that we fly back to France.
I love it. That's I've been talking to my wife, and I keep saying that I haven't been camping in years, and I've just really been feeling the need for it lately to really want to go and get outside and just do some classic camping. Like, I don't know, as a kid, I feel like I used to go camping all the time with my dad. Like no, I don't want to say like every weekend, but it certainly felt like that sometimes. Like we would go pretty often. And it's been years since I've been camping, and I'd love to do that sometime. Go touch some grass.
Exactly. Yeah. It's different when you get older. Like when you're a kid, you're just so resilient. You're like, I'm dirty. It's all right. I don't need clean things. Like camping is so easy when you're a kid, but it gets different when you get older. We'll be in a little camper van. I'm excited about that. But I've traveling every time I do it, I realize how valuable it is for the human experience to be in this mode of always being aware. And like I've really been thinking about optimizing for presence lately, because to prepare for the trip, I was trying to like tie up as many loose ends as I could, prepare, like get extra work done so that I could, just manage work on the road and take care of the family. And by contrast, as soon as you like get on the plane, you get these opportunities for quiet where you can like listen and be more meditative and more in the moment. And as an artist and a photographer and a musician, as just a creatively minded person, that mode is just so essential. And everyone has their own way of being creative, but what is universal is the opportunity to travel presents people with the necessary mindset to be open to new things and being in the moment. And when you are able to find that like blank slate, an empty space in your mind, that's when like the creativity, the new ideas, and a lot of like problems that you kind of trying to confront in your life, when they start to get like solved kind of in the background processing of your mind. You know what I'm saying?
I do. It's kind of like it's almost like the shower thoughts, where you you're just alone with your thoughts and you start thinking of things. Like I feel like I've had some really amazing ideas for like Twitter threads and just like tweets and stuff in general, like
Yeah.
in the shower. It's a weird thing to say, maybe, but like, yeah, like you're on the plane, right? Yeah, you kind of have that time to be like totally disconnected from everything, and it's a really great opportunity, and yeah, just traveling in general, just new experiences and new perspectives, and yeah, it's a really great opportunity to get inspiration.
Yeah. My wife showed me something on Instagram recently, and this guy was saying how if you plan every other month to do something, some sort of adventure that's outside of the ordinary that you would plan for yourself, or just thinking outside of the box and planning some great adventure, you're going to end up with like 6 meaningful adventures every year. And if you plan on doing that for the next 20, 30, 60 years, you're going to end up with all these amazing stories and opportunities, people that you connect with. Um, so for anyone listening, like, we all have this kind of, we all fall on the spectrum of like, how much do we plan ahead? How much do we live in the moment? But I like that framework of every other month because it's doable, right? So like just trying to get in like 6 cool, unique adventures that's going to give you great stories and new connections. Planning that out is going to give you like an awesome year of stories.
Yeah, that's actually a really cool way of framing it. And it's very actionable, and it's also, yeah, it just like, oh, one event or one thing every 2 months. That doesn't sound too overwhelming, to potentially do.
Yeah,
But yeah, you could definitely get a lot of really amazing experiences from that. Yeah,
yeah,
going back to like our camping discussion, like I don't know, a few months ago, I don't really know why or how it happened, but I kind of fell down this rabbit hole of watching like backpacking or backpackers on like TikTok and YouTube, and got
yeah.
like really interested in that culture. Like that was something that I never really like thought about.
Yeah.
And my wife doesn't seem to be really too into into doing that with me, but I'm hoping that I can at least inspire kind of like a camping something
Baby,
around that.
baby steps, backpack filling. I did a lot of that growing up. So just to go back to the conversation about like stuff we did with our family. My dad took me backpacking in the Sierra Nevadas a lot, like at least once a year. We not climbed, we hiked Mount Whitney when I was, I think, 11 years old. I was just looking back at some pictures on it. Um, so yeah, it's the heaven on earth, man. It's the Sierra Nevadas. If you can get up there, it takes a lot of planning and preparation, but it's a unique experience. So I think everyone should experience backpacking at least a couple times in their lives.
Yeah, I definitely want to. I just need to find a friend to do it with me because my wife is not into it. Not into it. She's definitely more of the glamping side, which I definitely I can sympathize with. But
Yeah.
yeah.
The other thing I wanted to bring up about travel. So when I was in LA, I was driving around quite a bit, and I saw a couple like crypto Bitcoin related things. So I saw some spaces dedicated to, one was called like BTC Builders. There was a building for it, and just seeing more like license plates out in LA. In France, like people don't have custom license plates in France. So that's one thing I enjoy about being in LA is seeing everyone's custom license plates. But I saw several that like had something about crypto or Bitcoin, BTC something. And driving around, especially in Venice and on the west side, you see more IRL Bitcoin, crypto, Web3 references. So to see that manifesting beyond just things that we see on Twitter or on our computers on the digital screens, we're seeing these things in person, in real life. And I think that is, that's par for the course, man. We're just going to be seeing more and more of it.
Now, were these license plates attached to Lamborghinis, or were they attached to like used Honda Civics?
I did not see any holding with these plates. Yeah. but it's also like it's West LA, Venice Beach, Santa Monica, like trucks. Trucks have a lot. I saw a lot on like big trucks.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, LA especially, people definitely like to flex their their wealth out there. So yeah, I mean, speaking of travel, we didn't do the show last week because a lot of us were in kind of various stages of travel. We actually did our big kind of annual Trust Machines employee retreat, I guess. I don't know if retreat is the right word because we were still doing some work when we were there, but kind of a gathering, and we all got to go to Portugal, and that was pretty amazing. To we're a very remote company, so we don't always have the opportunity to meet face to face with folks, and so there was some folks like Shaylee I got to see in person for the first time, which was very cool. Who I see in the audience down there, and yeah, it was just really cool to get to connect with people and really remind a good reminder that we're all kind of on the same team building towards Bitcoin, because we have a lot of folks that I don't necessarily get to work with on a daily basis. Certainly I don't talk to quite as often as I talk to you, for example,
Right.
kind of more on the marketing side. So yeah, it's just a really cool opportunity to get to meet with everybody, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. I came back feeling very energized. But going back to the being on a plane, I was on a plane, uh, a 6 hour flight coming back. I had a layover in Toronto, and a 6 hour flight from Toronto to San Francisco had zero Wi-Fi, and that was definitely an exercise in uh, trying, you know, quietness, and trying to find something to do, and yeah, trying to get as much inspiration as I could from that.
It's funny. It reminds me of when I hear people say like, "Oh, I'm bored right now." Like I have never once found myself bored, at least in my like young adult and adult life. Um, just because like every opportunity, like if I am in a situation where I don't have Wi-Fi, I've always found it pretty easy just to use that chance to like meditate or just go into my mind and like and think and be creative. But yeah, I those times can be gifts. But man, is it you really get confronted with this urge that we have, right, to check the phone? Because I still like even in that situation where I don't have Wi-Fi, I'll notice whatever like 5 times in a series of 2 minutes where I'm like, oh, what's my phone? What's the notification? And unless people have the self discipline to unplug and say like I'm taking a break from crypto, from all the computer stuff. It's only in these situations where we literally can't that we confront that feeling of having to check out.
Yeah, I'll say it's difficult for me. Yeah, I mean, I just ended up watching like a bunch of TV,
Yeah.
without the Wi-Fi. But yeah, I always, yeah, I don't know. I need to actively spend a little bit more time, I think, trying to disconnect more often, because yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah, but there's always the urge to be productive, right? And with our phones, we can always either be productive or trick ourselves into feeling like we're being productive.
Yeah, I'll say, on the flight there, I did have Wi-Fi, and that's when I was able to write that thread on Pizza Ninjas that that we posted on Monday. So yeah, I was able to get at least a little bit of work done.
Well, it's been great to see the recognition because you and is it Annie who also helps write some of the threads
Yes.
um, from Trust Machines and Leather. They're always so well written, succinct, informative. So I really like what you guys are posting.
Yeah, I really like just the just the concept of us celebrating, you know, some of the people that are in our community, right? Like, we also did a thread on like birds of a feather, which is Brett from Gamma. We know and love Brett, and some of the other folks from Gamma there as well, Saroshi, and yeah, we did a thread on that, and that community is just really incredible with highlighting artists, and Brett obviously does a really great job doing that at Gamma as well. But yeah, the ability to there was certain some people that learned about that collection for the first time that were commenting and saying, "Oh, it reminds me of this." Somebody said that it reminded them of like kind of the Fallout video game series, and um, to just shine a light on some of these creators that are building in our ecosystem is really a privilege. It's really one of my favorite parts about this job is getting to highlight all the creativity that's in this space.
Right. And what's good about using the Leather account to amplify that, I think a lot of us a lot of people who I see here in the spaces, thanks for everyone for checking in here. It's easier for us to become an echo chamber where we are all like sharing the relevant information that most of us are probably already familiar with. But I've been thinking about this because on Leather Lounge, we've been using that space to highlight and have discussions with new partners to Leather. And a lot of them are coming from either just the Bitcoin ecosystem or outside the Bitcoin ecosystem, meaning like Ethereum and Solana. And specifically last week with Helio, a previous show was with Teleport DAO. They were not familiar really with stacks. Like they just haven't integrated at all because it's not on their radar. And so to also have the opportunity to bring these people into the ecosystem, um, it's also a chance for us to educate really fantastic builders who are innovating in the greater crypto space, but then also putting what we know as the best things happening in this space on their radar as well.
Yeah, that really resonates with me. I think there is so much to learn from other chains, not even on Bitcoin, right? There's so much to learn from Ethereum and from Solana and from all these L2s that are out there. A few weeks ago, I was joining um, a podcast that was mostly Algorand folks, and that was cool. I was like kind of educating them on Bitcoin, and to them it was a lot of new information, and it's really cool when we can connect as just a one big crypto industry and share ideas. And we always say that all the it's like Manib's law is like it's been a thing for a while. Like all good things that are built on Ethereum and other chains will eventually make their way to Bitcoin. And we can only do that by learning about all the good things that are happening on other chains. So yeah, I've really loved the recent Leather Lounges where we've like you said, where we've been highlighting some of these builders that are really just onboarding to Bitcoin kind of for the first time and getting their feet wet with Bitcoin, and have traditionally been on other platforms. So yeah, it's been really a great learning experience for everybody.
Nice. Well, before we move into stuff on the rest of the list, is there anything that you can share out about the Trust Machines time in Portugal? What were some of the highlights? Yeah, what else can you share about that?
We're definitely cooking some things. I don't know if I can talk about much, but we do have some announcements that will be coming in the semi near future with different products and stuff. We've talked a bit about because we've also been hiring for it. Historically that we are building a DeFi app. Really excited to be able to talk about that more in the future. Can't talk about that now. Also, really excited to talk more about Orange domains and what we're doing with that. There was a post on the Stacks forum, maybe maybe a little bit over a month or two now from Hank, who joined Trust Machines as core engineer semi recently, talking about the BNS V2 upgrade. Um, so also, really excited to have some more news from Orange Domains coming very soon. Um, so yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff is cooking, and Leather will be kind of the gateway for all the other things that we're building. So yeah, I'm excited to have more things to connect Leather to in the near future.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I see Shaylee is listening in the audience. I'm hoping that she can come up and on stage to talk about some of the other news that we had this week. Should we transition into some of the big things happening in the SEC?
Yeah, it was a pretty busy SEC week. I dropped in another thing too about Dell potentially getting into Bitcoin, which I think is interesting. But we can kind of start with, I think it was on Monday. It was David Hirsch, who is the SEC's crypto asset and cyber unit in the Division of Enforcement. He on LinkedIn announced that he was resigning from his position after about 9 years. And obviously, for anybody that's in this industry, we are very familiar with all of the enforcement actions that have been taken by the SEC. So I, probably good news. I guess it is good for Bitcoin that this guy is leaving his position, because the SEC just has not really acted in very good faith to this industry. So hopefully it's sign of positive things to come. We'll see kind of who ends up being his successor there. But obviously, they've done a lot of enforcement actions on the industry that have not been very positive, and a lot of those have also been either in bad faith. Like Coinbase has like ongoing investigations, and obviously Coinbase is a really good actor in our industry overall. So there's been a lot of questionable decisions there, and also a lot of like late decisions. Right, there's been a lot of things that they're supposed to be protecting investors, but a lot of things have happened after people have already gotten wrecked. Right, like there's active investigations now into like Terraform Labs, like Terra Luna, and Richard Hart with Hex and all this stuff, and like all those investigations are happening after all these people have lost a lot of money on all these platforms. So it hasn't been as proactive as you might want or might hope. So hopefully we can get to a point in the industry where a little bit more proactive about actually calling out the scams, but not bogging down the people that are actually trying to act honestly in this space, with these frivolous sort of lawsuits, that like Coinbase and Kraken and other folks have had to deal with.
Right. And their overuse of like Wells notices, for example, they just seem to send so many out, and it scares companies. And the SEC should be the government organization that moves quickly to protect people quickly. But instead, what's happening, they're either, like you said, doing too little too late, or they're just wrong. And then the failure of the SEC to provide clarity in and around crypto, this highlights the essential role of the judicial and legislative branches of the U.S. government within the democratic process. So, but the thing is, like, yes, it's powerful that we have this, like that's how the democratic process works, right? But they should be moving quickly, and instead, we're having to get legislation and clarity through these court cases, like with Ripple, for example. And it isn't until this slow-moving process is fully realized that we do get the clarity. So it's so slow. I mean, maybe if you really zoom out, like, yes, this is a young industry. It's not that old. So if we really zoom out, maybe it's not as slow as it feels. But my gosh, it just feels like too little, too late, and it's taking such a long time. So yeah, I'm curious to see if Hirsch stepping down, if he saw the writing on the wall, if like what's he going to do next, and who are we going to get in next? Because at some point, maybe we'll, fingers crossed, we'll have an SEC that understands how to protect people and provide clarity, because a lot of innovation that should be happening in America is getting pushed off to the UAE and Malta and Singapore because they have much more favorable environments.
Yeah, I know Shaylee has a lot of thoughts there.
One positive thing that happened was, the SEC, like dropping their charges against consensus around the specific part was like It's closing the investigation. Sorry, I'm outside, so you can hear cars going past me. Um, the enforcement division of the SEC notified that like it's not going to bring charges against consensus that sales of ETH are securities transactions, which is a good thing because that takes away from the narrative that ETH is a security. Um, and why is that important? Because a lot of Bitcoin L2s are looking to leverage some of the innovation that's happened in the Ethereum ecosystem to scale, um, you know, use cases for Bitcoin. So I think we like Ethereum developers. We want them to succeed. I think decentralized, I mean, it's not Bitcoin or Ethereum, it's Bitcoin and Ethereum and Solana. All the innovation is good. And I think like watching the cases against these different cryptocurrencies is useful for us because we're still in a gray area. Because and the one thing that is still not clear from that consensus case um, with the SEC is MetaMask and whether they're classified as an unregistered broker dealer, and that goes to the heart of, I think, one of the big core tenets of crypto is self custody, right? In if you're doing peer to peer distributed ledger um, token exchange, you want to do it with a self-custodial wallet, and it's very important to the business of trust machines with Leather Wallet. And just I think self-custody is one of those core things that the crypto ecosystem believes in. And so like if that, they need to find a way to allow for clarity for around self-custodial wallets, I think.
Yeah, I think there has been a little bit of
I
progress,
hope
right?
that
We
all made
saw
sense.
hopefully you can hear me, Shaylee, because I feel like we've been talking a little bit over each other. But I have seen we've seen a little bit of progress there, right? We have like the Fit 21 bill that recently did pass that did provide a little bit of clarity to how some of these tokens could potentially become decentralized over time. And I feel like, Ethereum is kind of following that, right? Like it has become more decentralized over time. And now, the SEC is not kind of pursuing those sales of ETH as securities. I think they haven't still come out to specifically say ETH is not a security. So, even though I feel like there was even some old clips of like Gary Gensler before he was SEC chair that was that where he basically did actually say that. But in an official capacity, I don't think that they have actually said that. So, still like one step forward, two steps back, maybe, or one step forward, one step back with that. But I think still is a positive, definitely a positive thing that they're no longer, I guess, actively pursuing. And I think it's very interesting that that news and the news of David Hirsch stepping down both happened in the same week. I think signs of definitely something internal changing potentially within the SEC, and hopefully that's going to be a positive thing.
Yeah, and it's also being reflected in the discussion for the presidential debate too. More and more people are realizing that there are single issue voters, and taking the Elizabeth Warren stance of having an anti-crypto army is really not going to get you as many votes as being pro-crypto, or at least open to having a good faith discussion. And now we're seeing, the Trump administration, he's just all in. It's great. Speaking of all in, he was on the All In podcast this week too. So for a lot of people, they're hearing Trump articulate his position on Bitcoin and crypto. And I don't know who's talking to him and informing him, but many of the points, many of the important issues to people in the Bitcoin space are on his radar, and he has a position. And whether or not you are going to vote for him, the fact that someone is bringing that discussion to the table means that everyone needs to have an opinion on Bitcoin and crypto, which is definitely a win for all of us.
Yeah, it's definitely becoming a major political issue. I don't know if you saw, I think it was yesterday, both Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss both donated $1 million in Bitcoin to Trump's campaign.
Right.
So there's definitely a lot of money that's also getting thrown around. And for better or worse, right, in the US, like throwing that much money around gets people's attention, gets politicians' attention for these issues. So whether it's kind of just like a money motivation or not, you can maybe argue how sort of authentic Trump's I don't know, conviction is the right word, but support of crypto is just a way of him trying to get more votes, but it seems like it might be working.
Right. And that's what we have to take with a grain of salt, is like every politician is going to say the things that will get them elected. But, I guess we have to be hopeful that it's not just lip service and that there is a genuine education happening and a shifting so that everyone in this space who has an interest, or, a lot of people who crypto and Bitcoin is their livelihoods, meaning that and their families' livelihoods, we need to be seeing the right progress. So yeah, what'd you say? 2 steps forward, 1 step back, slow, but we're getting there.
Slow, yeah, yeah. And I saw RFK also. He's been pro Bitcoin for a very long time. Over a year at this point, but they're also promising. I think Trump and both RFK now are promising to like commute Ross, Albright, like day one. So there's a lot of the nuanced things that are also happening there as well, to appease us Bitcoiners.
Yeah, true.
I think the one other thing that I wanted to I mentioned it at the top, but I just saw just today, Michael Dell, who is the Dell, we all know Dell is a household name, CEO of Dell, a computer company, and not just computer company, they're technology company, I guess I would say. Potentially getting into Bitcoin. I think he basically he tweeted. I got to find the tweet. He retweeted something, or he tweeted something out. Michael Saylor responded, and then Michael Dell retweeted Michael Saylor's response. That was pro Bitcoin, and people were potentially looking at that as, is Dell going to enter the Bitcoin arena, and that could potentially be very interesting. And I think, could, like, obviously as Bitcoiners, we all are familiar with Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy. But that is certainly not quite as household of a name compared to Dell, right? That Dell is very much a household name. So if Dell was going to be getting into Bitcoin, that could be potentially really positive for that big of a public company to be joining the Bitcoin treasury space.
True. Yeah, that's so important.
Yeah,
in some of the podcasts that I've been listening, I keep seeing this narrative that the energy, Bitcoin mining is just revolutionizing energy. It allows, and this is something that Rena talked really well on a few weeks ago, because she comes from the mining industry. So I think it was 2 weeks ago you mentioned Mara was partnering with Kenya to help them build out their grid and capitalize on stranded energy. So I saw more of that happening in the news, just getting more clarity on how Bitcoin mining can really be used to bring a more robust energy system. There's a lot of challenges when it comes to building out, like laying the lines to bring energy to spaces, but Bitcoin mining can come out and help scale and make use of stranded energy. So people are I just remember 2 to 3 years ago, if I was talking with anyone about Bitcoin, it was like, yeah, but it's so bad for the environment because of the high energy use. And now that's such a strong, it was like pounded into people's heads so intentionally that it kind of stuck. And people are finally slowly realizing that, okay, I know it doesn't make sense intuitively because Bitcoin is so energy intensive, but I'm starting to understand why Bitcoin mining is actually good for the environment and good for energy.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, we've talked about that. Yeah, quite a bit, especially having our resident mining expert Rena on. Yeah, there's so much. You know, the incentive structure for Bitcoin mining incentivizes green production because green production tends to be cheaper. So over time, we've seen Bitcoin become more and more and more green to the point where a majority of Bitcoin mining now is actually with renewable energy. So we'll see whenever Tesla comes back to accept Bitcoin. They a few years ago stopped accepting it, and then they said that they would start to accept it again once it became majority renewable. But that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. Well, so I can speak to this personally because I do have a friend and a family member who are both in the solar industry. And like this concept is just so not on their radar at all. And they're working for solar companies. So like it's slow and steady. I mean, there's still a lot of work to be done, but some people are getting it. But yeah, there's a long ways to go.
Yeah, for sure. I started talking about the Dell stuff, and I was like very unprepared. So I pulled up the tweet finally. So Michael Dell said he just tweeted something out, just saying that scarcity creates value. And then Michael Saylor responded saying that Bitcoin was digital scarcity, and then Michael Dell reposted that, and then he a little bit later on retweeted this like meme of Cookie Monster eating up some bitcoins that are looking like cookies. So yeah, I mean, it seems like he's definitely hinting at something there with a couple Bitcoin related posts just in the past few hours.
Nice. Speaking of Michael Saylor, when was the last time you read through his 10 observations for life?
I don't think I have actually.
Ooh, I'll read them right now because they kind of blew my mind. And at some point I wrote them out for my students when I was teaching full time. I didn't attribute it to Michael Saylor. Oh, I think I did. I quote by Michael Saylor, but I didn't I didn't tie it into Bitcoin or anything. But I did have these posted in my classroom. So 10 things. And the story on this is that he was at a dinner party and someone said, my son is graduating high school. Can you give him some advice? And Michael Saylor, he grabbed a piece of paper and he just off the cuff wrote 10 things. So these are the 10 things. 1, focus your energy. 2, guard your time. 3, train your mind. 4, train your body. 5, think for yourself. 6, curate your friends. 7, curate your environment. 8, keep your promises. 9, stay cheerful and constructive. And 10, upgrade the world. How great is that?
To think of all those things off the cuff is like very impressive.
Tied into first principles he is.
Yeah. That's pretty incredible. I'm just blown away that he was just like, oh yeah, let me just write these things down really quick, right? And just wrote down this amazing list of life goals. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I'm glad that that's come back to me because 10 things, I got 10 fingers, so I should be able to commit that to memory,
Yeah, but I feel like those are fairly broad goals, but they also kind of also feel very actionable at the same time. Like they feel still tangible enough where you have control over them and, can take action on them.
Yeah. I know there are different points in my life where these some of these things in the 10 list would have been very helpful for me to consider, like curate your friends.
Yeah, I mean, I could have used that advice in high school.
But even like stay cheerful and constructive, right? Because we all have work environments where we have to maybe push back on ideas or collaborate with other people. And the style in which, like, what's your working style? And if you can, bring your own ideas and respectfully work with other people and disagree with them, if you can do that cheerfully and constructively, that's a big skill. And I wonder, as a teacher, I wonder how often we give students the opportunity and the nudge to practice that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's certainly a good, a very useful skill to have, especially in a working environment. You don't want to be like the curmudgeon that's maybe has good ideas but isn't, very friendly and nobody wants to work with. So yeah, that's definitely great advice.
Reading through the list, I'm thinking about how many of these are in sync and like kind of overlap in the Venn diagram of Bitcoiners. Because if I think back to like a Bitcoiner 3 years ago, maybe the Bitcoin Maxi, what do you associate that with? Like, and let me just ask you, Brandon. So like, think in your knowledge of like what a Bitcoiner is, what do they post about on Twitter? Yeah, what do you think beyond just like thinking about Bitcoin? Because there's more than just Bitcoin that Bitcoiners tend to post about. What do you think like 3 years ago, a stereotype?
I mean, yeah, the the stereotypical Bitcoin maxi has a laser-eyed profile picture. They're maybe tweeting about libertarianism and steak and uh, those types of ideals. They're
Posting gym
that's
pics.
yeah, that's what I think of.
Yeah, me too. But a lot of these principles, being from the perspective of Bitcoiners, often aligning with libertarian ideals, they are ideals that can, in the words of Michael Saylor, upgrade the world. And so let me come back to these. Think for yourself. That seems like a Bitcoiner trait. And I guess that's the biggest one. Train your body, train your mind. I think those core ideals seem to be very much in line with the historical stereotypical Bitcoiner.
Well, just thinking of the upgrade the world one, right? I feel like that is now what the ideal Bitcoiner is, mindset is kind of turning into, where that wasn't really, maybe that was like what the old school traditional like Bitcoin maxi would say, but it's not what they would do. And I feel like now it's turning into a culture of doing and a culture of building and experimenting. And we really are trying to, build on Bitcoin and upgrade the world, right? And actually use this technology rather than just talking about, using it for payments sometime in the future.
Yeah, well said. There's a lot we can learn when we have the open mind to have a discussion. And just to bring it back to what you mentioned about being in the space with the Algorand people, we have such a people in general have such a tendency to silo ourselves in our echo chambers and to be tribal and to come into a conversation with things to say, and less so to listen. And one funny phrase is, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you should be, the ratio of listening to speaking should be reflective of that ratio. So yeah, if we listen more, we'll learn more. And even if we disagree with people, we can find the things that we have in common and learn and take away the best. I'm sure, in that discussion from Algorand, you had some light bulb moments, and you saw some correlations and some concepts that are relevant to this space that we work in.
Yeah, I think it was a good reminder. It feels like a lot of folks outside of Bitcoin, in like Ethereum and other ecosystems, you know, are on kind of the more like degen side of things, very into trading and very into just that mindset of like, I guess not non-sustainable growth. And I don't want to generalize too much, because obviously there are people that are not like that in those ecosystems. But yeah, I think the culture of Bitcoin, right, is definitely a little bit more sustainable, a little bit more thoughtful, and we're seeing some give and take with that, right, with all the experimentation that's happening. We're seeing a little bit more of that now coming to Bitcoin, but I think that also really resonates with like leather, for example, right? How I think of leather as a brand, being very intentional with some of the features that we come out with, and not just coming out with things quickly, but being very methodical in some of the features that we release. So yeah, that part resonates with me.
Slow and steady wins the race. It's good to not be distracted by the new shiny object and to too frantically try to move and pivot too quickly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think that is probably a good time to wrap. I know I need to prep for our next space, which is actually going to be with co-hosted by both Stacks and Wolf Web 3. So they're, I know, friends of the show. We've done spaces with them before. So excited to go back there. But before I end it, I want to shout out. We posted about today. Team Leather will be at Bitcoin Nashville. Very excited to be going. We're also going to be where we also are sponsoring the Bitcoin Builders event that's happening there as well. And you can, if you're going to be in Nashville, I firmly believe that all of the side events that usually happen are almost better than the main event. And Bitcoin Builders is one of them. So if you would like to go, we are offering 25% off your ticket. Just use code Leather25 to get 25% off your ticket to Bitcoin Builders. And yeah, I'm really excited. That'll be kind of the next event to meet folks and see folks. And I'm excited to have everybody meet the team.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Brandon. I always enjoy talking about everything in and around the Bitcoin and crypto ecosystem. So thanks for the time.
Yeah, this is a weekly space that we do every Friday. We actually are changing the time that we do it. Starting next week, we'll be doing it at it's 11 a.m. my time, so it'll be 2 p.m. Eastern every Friday. That's to fit a little bit better in with some of the other spaces that are happening on Fridays. So we're not overlapping with any spaces. So we'll be changing the time, but still be here every Friday. And we'll be back next week for another Good for Bitcoin episode. So yeah, thank you everybody for joining us. And if you want to continue speaking, in about 9 minutes, we'll be co-hosting with Stacks and Wolf Web 3 over on the Stacks channel. So we will see you there.
Thanks everyone. See you next week.
Thank you for listening. We record Good for Bitcoin live every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on X. Please follow us at Trust Machines Co. if you would like to listen and engage with us live. Visit us at trustmachines.co for all the latest Bitcoin news. We'll see you next week.